Good morning, everybody. It's the 12th of August. I wanted to start by saying I took down the request for information because I've had enough. Trust me, I've received about 30 or 40, maybe even 50 long 4-page emails with lots of links to YouTube and to a bunch of fringe sites, as I was myself finding, and that wasn't quite the idea. So therefore, consider that request for information dead in the water. I don't want anything else. Thank you for what you've sent. I'll be sending a direct request to Brooks Agnew for some scholarly publications and his own thoughts, and I'll stick with that. It does tend to tell me, though, that on the subject of the galactic plane, there is such total bullshit and disinformation that maybe there's something to it. Generally speaking, if one story goes out through 100 people, you get the same story filtered 100 different ways, but it's ultimately the same story, and that's what I found. There's 100 different interpretations of 100 different same stories on this one subject. So therefore, any online searching is a waste of time. Just stop doing it if you are. It's absolutely a waste of time. So, that's one good kickoff. And how about that world today? A third of Pakistan is underwater. They're having their worst disaster ever. Russia is on fire. Africa is on fire. The United States is experiencing absolutely bizarre weather for the last year. South America is seeing some record colds. California is seeing record lows. The East Coast is seeing record highs, and we're also seeing electrical and tornadic storms, the likes of which you generally would see in the Midwest, Kansas, Oklahoma, and up the Tornado Alley and that whole belt. Our politicians have gone completely retarded in most aspects. Our president's appearing on The View talking about Snooki, but he will not engage in debate with another world leader that we might be soon going to war with. And everything just continues to get more and more and more Orwellian. So, there's not much to say. It's worth looking into a little bit of everything, and right now I've been listening to Red Elk deliver his prophecy for the United States, and it's pretty hideous. It's pretty hideous, but everything he's talking about is stuff that I've been envisioning when I start to think about, if I got it right, my theory's right, that we're simply going to cross a galactic plane, and certain principles of motion are going to require that we spin the opposite direction. And I'm not even going to go into which principles they are, because I received so many emails trying to tell me that I was wrong, and so many comments trying to tell me that I was wrong. And some of these came from some knowledge, and a lot of them came purely from ignorant belief. I suppose that's where I'll take this, is that ignorant belief. And I'm guilty of this, so is everybody. We're taught and indoctrinated certain things from the time that we're born. I'll just give you a list of some of mine. And these things are so indoctrinated that once you're on this belief, there's no taking you back away from it. It doesn't matter if it's proven scientifically and every other way that it's entirely false. You're given these beliefs. One is, whatever religion you are, it doesn't matter which one it is. If you are raised in a religious family, you are taught from the moment you're a child that religion is absolute, that every word of it is the written word of God, and that you must follow those beliefs. And generally speaking, at least among the Christian faiths, if you don't follow those beliefs, you'll burn in hell. It took me a long time to really come to grips with this, but if you really break it down, the Bible was compiled by a Roman emperor simply for the good of the empire, simply to create a religion that would help control people. And when they say the Bible is the inspired word of God, I even go so far as to say the Roman emperors thought themselves to be God. So what God are they referring to when they say inspired word of God? We're indoctrinated as Americans to believe that we live in the best country in the world, the greatest nation in the world, the beacon of freedom. And right now, that illusion is starting to rip away from a lot of people. A lot of people, on the other hand, the majority, still think that our system works, that everything's fine, and we're going to vote our problems away. Many people even think that, $165 billion in the hole last month alone isn't a big deal because we're just so rich, we've got all this money, we can just borrow it and throw it around. No problem. No problem. But the illusion's starting to tear away on a lot of people on that one, and that one hurts. Having that illusion torn away hurts really bad. And if you woke up, and if you're watching my videos, you probably have woken up. That one hurts really bad. One of the best little pieces I've seen here recently came from Antimatter Radio, and I'll post the links in the box for just that one. And every bit of this offended me at first because the discussion is on the Earth as the center of the solar system. Wait a second, I know that's not true. That's bullshit. I know that the sun is the center of the solar system. Of course it is. My common sense tells me this is true. But see, this presentation on Antimatter Radio, the guy breaks down all the facts, and it really it's kind of jacked. No one's ever proven it scientifically, ever. And there's a lot of conjecture about it. And if you take it from a philosophy standpoint that says, well, maybe it's not the center of the solar system. And watching that more than anything, it really felt like it just kind of opened my mind up, like, to the whole question of what is real, what isn't real. Now, I'd like to say I have absolutely made a fool of myself a few times, trying to make predictions, trying to speak what I know is the truth, because what I've ultimately learned through all of this is that the more that I learn, the more I don't know anything. And anybody that's absolutely certain in any one belief is absolutely incorrect and your typical ignorant human. We are fairly primitive beings. We really don't know that much. We think we do, but we really don't know that much. Trying to look into the bit on the galactic plane tells me that, well, there's some interesting theories, but you throw all the science out of it and all the claims, we really don't know that much about where we are in the galaxy, or what this galactic plane is, or even if we are part of this galaxy, or if we were part of another galaxy. But, if you want factual evidence on it, you're not going to find it. We were taught in school, I will bring this up over and over and over again, that the pyramids were built by the Egyptians using slaves that rolled stones across the desert with ropes and logs. And now we're finding out this year and late last year that the pyramids predate written history. And of course, there's other information to state that they knew about this in the 70s. But nonetheless, that didn't make the news. No one taught us about that. No one ever bothered to mention it. With all the other ancient artifacts, there's extraordinary evidence to suggest that humanity has been here, technologically advanced, thousands of years before written history even existed. But we weren't taught this. We never were taught this. And for those of you that are Catholics, it's painful to know that the Sumerians had writings about the color, the rotation of Neptune that we only discovered in the 80s. The Vatican Church, probably in their Vatican Library, which is shut down to the public now since 2007, probably held all these documents because they have pretty well more ancient records than anybody else in the world. But when it was suggested that the Earth was round and that we orbit the sun, it was the Catholic Church and their followers that wanted to come out and burn them as heretics. When the Spanish invaded the South America and the Mayan territory, they saw them as heretics because they were all devout Catholics, and they burned and destroyed almost all of their recorded history. That Mayan calendar that we got was one of the rare artifacts that came out of it. What's even more interesting to note is that the Mayan calendar was not created by the Mayans. It was created by a white man with a white beard who kind of appeared to them and who constructed it and then who left. Which is why when the Mayans saw the Spaniards coming, they thought that it was this great man that had given them so much knowledge. And they found out the hard way it was wrong. But it's my ultimate point, what do you believe? What do you not believe? What's real and what's false? And I'd advise giving a listen over to this radio broadcast. If you've got a fairly open mind, it will open it a little bit further. Because we really have to go with don't know what the hell is coming. But I can tell you this, like I told somebody else. Though I can't tell you exactly what's coming, and though I may be factually entirely incorrect on 2012, I can tell you with almost entire certainty that there's a shitstorm coming amongst humanity, that there is a third world war coming, that the climate is changing drastically and suddenly, and it seems to be accelerating just a little bit with each day that goes forward. But I can't predict the future. All I know is that by this time next year, it's probably going to be getting a little too hot and uncomfortable to step outside and hang out. But that's just a guess. That's how we're going. By this time next year, I would also guess we're going to see the coastlines coming up at least just a little bit. The earthquakes will increase. Of course, this is my speculation. Don't hold me to it. The earthquakes will increase. The tornadoes are going to get bigger. The hurricanes are going to start to get powerful. And as the government starts to run out of funding, whenever that happens, there aren't going to be chemtrails anymore. And if there are, you can bet somebody else is funding it. But when those go away, as much as they've been a nuisance and a pain in the ass, it's going to get hotter outside. And because there's going to be a change in the composition of the atmosphere, unpredictable results will occur. And I could only sum that up to chaos theory. Because I don't know how long geoengineering has been going on, but when they stop, I'll bet it's going to create a hell of a lot more of a problem than the little headache you might get when they are spraying actively. But that's what I've got for you today. Please, again, don't send me any more emails on the galactic plane unless you have a scholarly source. And that means that it came from a credible institution, not from some website that some guy put up at some time. And, if you're waking up, continue to expand your mind. Continue to look around. And if you're one of those guys like me that's been waking people up, I got real bad news for you. People right now think you're crazy because you're telling them the economy is collapsing, because you're telling them the end is nigh, because you're trying to tell them that climate change isn't man-made or that it's even real, because either way you go there, it's pretty difficult because there's only really two sides, man-made global warming or there is no global warming. No one really believes in that climate change without that outside factor. But when things get really bad and people are forced to wake up and they're forced to see the reality, they're forced to smell the coffee, if you will, they're going to blame you. They're going to blame you. And I only know this because I've had so many people, one in particular that really sticks out, that I woke up at some point. And you know what they do? They attack me viciously while they're in that crazy period. It's going to be like for America when we do finally see the end of this giant Ponzi scam and it just collapses around us. You're going to see a lot of anger. And if you've been out there trying to do your thing, well, trust me, you're not a prophet, but just to say it, a prophet never has any luck in their time. You are going to be trounced for it. But that's kind of your cross to bear in this one. And we'll see where the future goes. There have been some great quotes in time, but just one that I'd like to say. It's from Common, hip-hop artist. And that is simply that the revolution will not be televised. But in my own personal opinion, it may be broadcast live over YouTube. Or pre-recorded, I'm sorry. The revolution will not be televised, but it will be available pre-recorded on YouTube. Okay, guys, that's what I got for today. Take it easy.